Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the members of the gallery. This meeting of the Liverpool Plains Shire Council is being live streamed to Council's website. A webcast of this meeting will be published to Council's website at www.liverpoolplains.newsouthwales.gov.au so that it is available for viewing by members of the public. Acknowledgement of country and council prayer. Councillor Allen.
Today we gather on the land of the Kamilaroi Nation. We therefore need to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land. We also pay our respects to the Aboriginal elders, both past and present, and further extend that respect to other adults who have joined us today. Council prayer. Lord, we ask that you watch over this council, guide us in the deliberation of decisions for the betterment of all people of the Shire and Australia.
Thanks, Councillor Allen. Apologies and applications for leave of absence by councillors. Nil. 3. Confirmation of minutes. 3.1. The minutes of the council meeting held on the 22nd of May 2024. The recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 22nd of May 2024 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Is there a mover? Councillor Allen, seconder. Councillor Cohen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Allen?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 3.2, minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 8th of March 2024. The recommendation at Council 1 that the minutes of the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 8th of March 2024 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Is there a mover? Councillor Cohen, a seconder. Councillor Wynne, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cohen?
No, it's fair.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the report? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 4, disclosures of interests. Is there any councillor wishing to disclose any interest in the business papers? Nil. Item 5.1, the mayoral minute for May 2024. Being the writer of the minute, I will move that minute for approval. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lawson. It speaks for itself, so I'm not going to speak to the motion. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Mullins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask in regards to the meeting with the Quindai RSL Club. I sent my questions in and I've received the answers and I thank Mr. Frost for that. However, on page 21 under 5.1, you had a meeting with the RSL Club and I have concerns where there's been no presentation of their finances back to this council that we asked for. And I'd like to know whether the RSL Club or the RSL Suffrage owns or runs the clubhouse. You may remember we approved the reduction of fees for the water outlet. Now under Resolution 163 of 2023, it states that that is complete. I'd like to know where and when was parts 2 and 4 completed, and that includes reporting back to this council about their finances. So I'm just asking you, Mr. Mayor, with your meeting with the Quindai Club on the 13th of the 5th, were these discussed or is there anything going to come back to this council? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
They were tabled, their finances were tabled, but I'll hand that to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Councillor Moles, yes, as the Mayor said, we had a meeting with the RSL. They tabled their latest financial statements and the staff as I understand it, are reviewing those. There was an expectation that the RSL would make a submission to the operational plan in relation to their water charges or fees. It appears that they did not, so there was certainly an expectation that would come through. Once the staff have reviewed those financial statements, I'm more than happy to circulate them to councillors. At this stage, there's been no further requests from the RSL in relation to any relief or any further concessions, if you like, in relation to their water fees and charges.
Councillor Miles.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I realise I'm not supposed to speak twice, but part of my question hasn't been answered, and that is, who owns and runs the old golf club? Is it the RSL club or the RSL sub-branch? A lot of people don't understand that they are two separate enterprises, and one is a charity, the other is a business. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
To answer your question, it's the RSL club.
Thank you.
That was all, Councillor Miles?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Is there no other questions on that bill minute? If not, on Councillor Lawson.
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, I just wanted about the meeting with Minister Moran, if you could just give us a brief description of what that meeting was about. Thank you.
Did you want to speak to that, gentleman?
I can, through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, Councillor Lawson, it was quite pleasing that Minister Wan reached out to the Mayor and requested a meeting as part of his tour through the area, visiting several TAFEs. So this was a follow-up to the meeting that we held with the Minister back in February, I recall, in his office, where the discussion centred around the former TAFE site and the potential for housing. The Minister advised us that following discussions with Housing New South Wales, that they had no interest in the site, and the Minister was awaiting a change in policy position to allow the TAFE to offer that site to other parties, because the current policy position requires them to offer any assets that they have to other Crown or state government entities. So that was just an update, and we had a general discussion around the TAFE itself, the courses that were being offered. He asked for the Mayor's views on the local youth and their level of engagement and those sorts of things. But I think the key thing coming out of that meeting was, I suppose, a little bit disappointing that Housing New South Wales were not interested in developing that site.
Councillor Lawson. No one else wishing to speak on the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.1, Executive Services Report for May 2024. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Executive Services Director Report for May 2024. I have a mover. Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Cudmore, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.2, Resolution Register Update. The recommendation that Council that one receive and note the Resolution Register as at the 12th of June 2024, appended at Annexure A, and the Resolution Register for 2022-2023 as appended at Annexure B. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, seconder. Councillor Dean, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson?
I'm sorry for being a broken record on this, but there's still that resolution regarding the motion I put forward over 18 months ago, around 18 months ago, regarding the bus route changes I'm just wondering, are we actually making any progress towards that? When I spoke to representatives from Transport for New South Wales before I did the motion, they seemed very amicable, as in just let us know what we need. So I just think we really need to get the stakeholders together and talk about it at least. If there is no changes to be made, then we need to resolve it one way or the other. But the issues that brought about that motion in the first place still stand. And I just think it's a very long period of time that it's taken. Surely we need to, if we're having difficulty contacting certain people, then maybe we need to just make that happen one way or another and move forward one way or the other, because it can't just sit on the resolutions register forever. Thank you.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so we did try and hold a traffic committee meeting in the last month, however we did not hit a quorum again. So to have it considered a traffic committee meeting, we need to have representatives from both Transport for New South Wales and New South Wales Police in attendance. New South Wales Police have not attended, and there's also an MP representative that has not been attending either. So without reaching a quorum in the traffic committee is a challenge to get a resolution on it. However, Transport have taken that on and are doing some work around it. Regardless of getting the quorum or not, they're doing some work to investigate, confirm what can happen and what can't happen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, Councillor Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Because I support Councillor Lawson, I have that down on my notes that I asked. I appreciate what Mr. Skelly's just told us, but we're talking about the 12th, 22. We're not talking 1 month or 3 months or 6 months. You know, 18 months is a fair time to be able to get a traffic committee together just to do a report back to this council to tell us if they support it to start with. And then we can argue with the state afterwards. But if our own traffic committee doesn't support it, we haven't got much hope. And we haven't received anything, Mr. Mayor, and I was just really concerned about it, and the response I got was the answer is correct and the answer is the answer. So when I asked about it, that's what I was told. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
General Manager, do you want to speak?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, I just made a note there that I think we do need to follow up with the local members representative and the New South Wales Police if they are not attending traffic committee meetings and are preventing the committee from holding a quorum. We need to understand why and fix that, because I agree with Councillor Moles that Mr. Scully is doing his best to try and facilitate it, but we've been let down by the committee process, so we need to fix it.
Councillor Lawson.
I just wanted to add, I may be incorrect in this, but although we need the support of the traffic committee and everything, as a resolution of council to just get the stakeholders together, I thought that was a resolution of council. It might have gone around the wrong way in the beginning because of lack of understanding of the process, but we did have a resolution of council. So although I can appreciate that it's good for the traffic committee to hold this meeting and talk about it, I don't see how it's preventing us from maybe just talking to the actual stakeholders themselves to try and find out if it's a feasible option or not. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. That's noted. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.3, Corporate and Community Services Directorate Report for May 2024. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Corporate and Community Services Directorate briefing for May 2024 as detailed in this report. Is there a mover? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Wynne, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. I noticed, we're often having under the Royal Theatre no bookings for whatever month it is. before COVID happened, we had someone, whose part of their role was to actually go and find events to book, whether it be the Travelling Melbourne International Comedy Festival, or, you know, various music performances. Just wondering if anyone's currently performing that role actively, and if not, you know, can we do something about that? And the other part, sorry, just lost my train of thought. The community hub. I'm just wondering why that wasn't offered as a site for the upcoming pre-poll. Because apparently they've been put off to go and talk to the CWA about using their rooms. And I just wondered why, as much as that's great for the CWA to have some income for that, although they only charge nominal now, why we've got an accessible facility there that would seem like the obvious choice. Was it already booked? Perhaps that's the reason. I'm not sure. I just wondered about that. Thank you.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to your first question, that position was removed from council structure before my time, I think before our current General Manager's time. So there's nobody actively fulfilling that role. So sort of elements of that position was redirected into community development activities. But at this point in time, we had a person in that role for about 9 months, but unfortunately that person resigned a little while ago, and we're actively recruiting into that role. So the short answer to your question is we don't have anybody actively promoting the venue, but we obviously take inquiries, etc., etc. In relation to your second question, I've been advised that the Electoral Commission initially made inquiries about the Royal Theatre as being a place for pre-poll and a regional hub for the elections. They determined that they preferred to move the regional hub to Gunnedah, and then had made requests for using the chambers for the pre-poll. My experience with the Electoral Commission is they usually just determine and tell you what it is that they need and where they want to do it, as much as us offering up things.
Thank you.
Councillor Lawson?
Thanks.
If there's no other questions, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.4, adoption of the operational plan for 2024-2025, fees and charges 2024-2025, and long-term financial plan 2024-2034. There is 6 motions. There were 6 parts of that. Do you want to do them all in one, or do you want to do them one at a time? Is there any thoughts on that? As to how we go about it? Do we do one at a time up to 6, or do the 6 together?
I prefer that done individually, Mr. Mayor, in case somebody wishes to speak on one of them. But that's only my personal choice.
Everyone happy to do them individually?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. I'll go through them again. The adoption of the operational plan 2024-2025, fees and charges for 2024-2025, and long-term financial plan for 2024-2034. The recommendation that Council 1, pursuant to section 404 and 405 of the Local Government Act 1993, adopt the draft operational plan for 2024-25, including the statement of revenue policy and financial information appended at Annexure B, and the fees and charges 2024-2025 appended at Annexure C. I have a mover. Councillor Cutmore, seconder. Councillor Cole, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cutmore?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for it, Councillor Cole?
Mr Mayor, just a quick question in relation to the submissions that were made in relation to the operational plan. I know that we've been noted that the submissions are not going to, we're not going to make any, or we're not recommending any changes to the operational plan, but I'm just asking whether or not those submissions are going to be taken on face value and looked at by the council staff in relation to in operations going forward in normal operations. Some of those things were just things that would be under that sort of banner. So I just want confirmation that some of those submissions will be looked at separately in relation to normal operations.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, Councillor Cohen, we're probably jumping to point 2, but I'll answer your question. So yes, the intention is that the response is that there will be no change to the operational plan per se, because they do not deem necessary as a result of that. But where through operational budgets or through the initiatives of the staff, those submissions can be actioned, then they will be. If they can't be, then we'll write to all the submitters and explain what is going to be happening. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Mr Mayor.
Councillor Long?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mine's similar to Councillor Cohen, and I respect the GM's response. However, we are moving the operational plan in section 1, so I'd like to speak on that. On item 6.4, which we're on, page 54, there's a report from the Werris Creek Progress Committee. And you may recall that I asked the very same question with a 1% allocation in supporting business and that sort of thing. And I wanted noted, I agree with the fourth dot point, that it should be increased to the 5%. The community strategic plan leads to this operational plan. And we meet with the public through the community strategic plan, and all of these points that have been brought forward, there are several, including the crossing across the main street, and the parking, and several others that this progress committee have come up with that have already been forwarded to council for response through the reported process on the web. So, with respect to the General Manager's comments, and he did say these would be supported, when I read it, it was just recommending outcome, no change to operational plan. To have this sort of feedback, I believe it should be included, if possible, in the operational plan. However, the GM's indicated that will be taken on board, and I would hope that the councillors that are running again for council will remember this and will come back to it in their next term of council. So, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Before we answer. Can you stop the recording? I'm sorry, have you been recording the meeting on that? Why don't you guys?
I don't answer questions.
Well, you're not allowed, by law, you're not allowed to record the meeting,
You're recording.
but you're not allowed to record the meeting. I would ask you,
I have ceased.
you won't.
I have stopped.
I would ask you to delete what you'd already recorded.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good day.
I'll just go back to your question, Councillor Miles.
Yeah.
I just want to let the gallery know that it is illegal to tape any meeting of the council. General Manager, can you answer Councillor Miles' query?
Don't ask me to repeat it.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Miles. So yes, I think while it may be semantics, the comment there around changes to the operational plan relate to changes to programs or changes to activities or substantial changes to the operational plan. So the recommendation is that it is not deemed necessary to make substantial changes to the operational plan or redirect funds, etc., etc. However, having said that, you are correct that the people who have made a submission are deserving of a response as to how their submission is going to be dealt with, whether that is dealt with under operational activities or how that is going to be dealt with. So I don't think it's possible to include it in the operational plan per se, because it is a submission to the plan, but the people who have made a submission will be responded to so that they understand how their submission has been dealt with, if you like.
Thank you, Mr Murphy.
Councillor Miles? That's all.
It is Mr Mayor, on that one.
Can I, is there anyone else? Councillor Lawson?
Sorry. I do note there that, in relation to what Councillor Miles is talking about with the thriving economy, when we did the community strategic plan, that was an all-encompassing plan for the community. There was engagement with the community on that and submissions. It's considered to be a plan of the community that council works within. So not necessarily all the responsibility of council to implement. I think most of the things to do with a thriving economy are not necessarily things that require a budget allocation or money to be spent. It's more things like encouraging business to the area, facilitating talks with key players that might come into the region and bring different industry in. So I think that's how we facilitate that side of it. Certainly there's things that we can do, but we don't sort of go and, I guess, give money towards business, or, we might have projects perhaps that could help facilitate that. But just because we're not spending a great deal of actual monetary budget amount doesn't mean that we're not contributing to that outcome. We might not actually take dollars to do that, or we're doing that within the normal operations of the council. So I just thought I'd make that point. There are some things on there though that were pointed to in one of these submissions. The part on the finalise the design of the Kokoda Trail project between Werris Creek and Creek. I didn't actually notice that was still on there. The council's response to that is that this is the continuation of a project already underway. No funding is allocated for the project delivery. Recommended outcome, no change to operational plan. I know that this project was only going to go ahead if it was funded by an external organisation, being the RSL. That's not happening. I'm just wondering what the continuation of the project underway is. We're not actually doing anything at this stage, so I'm just wondering why it continues to be in the operational plan. If funding came to the fore at a later date, surely we can deal with that then. Should it really be part of the operational plan? I don't know if there's any other examples like this, but should it really be in there if there's nothing really happening with it? Or is there something happening with it? I don't know about it. Thanks.
Do you want me to answer?
Mr Mayor, if this is going to be discussed, I'd like to declare an interest. Being the Secretary of the North West District Council, as you know, I have 8 sub-branches, but I manage and are all involved in this Kokoda project, so.
Sorry, just before the Mayor answers that, I think probably this is the issue that Councillor Miles, in your suggestion, you were hoping to avoid. I think with respect to the council, I think we've strayed into point 2. So what I'd suggest is that we deal with point 1, which is the operational plan, and then continue the conversation that the Mayor can answer Councillor Lawson's question as part of point 2. That allows Councillor Miles to vacate the chamber, declaring his conflict, but then return for the other items. Is that appropriate?
Why is there a conflict?
Sits on that.
Because all he's going to say is it has to be on the operational plan for funding to get funding. The only reason that it sits on the financial plan is so they can actually go for funding, no other reason.
Yeah, so, through Mr. Mayor,
I'll move part one of the recommendation.
sorry, just to respond to Councillor Cunningham, also, the conflict is a matter for Councillor Moles to determine. So if he determines he's got a conflict, that's a matter for him. It's not a matter for me or the Mayor or anyone else. So I think the point one has been moved, as I understand it, by Councillor Cudmore, seconded by Councillor Cohen. So it's really just for the Mayor to put that to the vote, and then we can deal with the other matters if that's appropriate.
Happy to do that and happy to answer any questions on that project in the meeting. Okay, well, I'll put the motion to the floor. Those in favour of item one, those against, I'll declare that carried. Item two, request the General Manager to respond to each of the submissions received as appended at Annexure A. Councillor Lawson, the seconder. Councillor Wynne, did you wish to speak to this one, Councillor Lawson?
Only in relation to what I already expressed. If you had a response to that.
Yeah. So if everyone's happy for me to answer that first question, in relation to the Kokoda project, Councillor Moles has been vacated, has he? It was quick. I didn't think I was seeing Okay, on a serious matter, the project is not being managed by the RSL. The project is being managed by an independent committee. The reason that it's in the operational plan is because in order to gain that funding, there has to be a responsible body to receive the money, and it has to be in conjunction with the Shire Council. So whilst the Shire's not running the project, an independent committee is, there has also been an offer of $100,000 towards the scoping of the project through Transport New South Wales. So that money is banked with the Shire until it's decided on a course of action to determine the project.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions on item two? Councillor Moles, you can get him back in. We've got to go.
It's been moved to second.
It's
Well,
been
it was
moved.
only a question, it wasn't really in
Yeah,
relation
that's
to.
right. Yeah, that's right.
I don't
But
think
we
it's
had a
involved
mover and a
with
second.
anything
Yeah,
else.
Councillor Lawson moved it.
Councillor Lawson moved it, and Kenneth spoke to it. And Councillor Wynne seconded.
Yeah.
So, I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Now Councillor Moles can come back in.
That's a wee one. That is a wee one. I haven't seen that before.
I brought it up separately.
No, that's fine. No, that's okay. It's all there, it's, yeah. No drama.
Eliminate standing.
You weren't listening out there?
No,
You weren't
I'm
listening?
not listening in here. Mr. Mayor, I probably should say it would be a pecuniary interest, not non-pecuniary because there's monetary matters involved in it. That's when district council.
That's fine, Councillor Moles, that's completely up to you.
Thank you.
Item three, pursuant to clause 211, bracketed 2 of the Local Government Act, bracketed General, Regulation 2021, approve expenditure and vote funds as detailed in the operational plan for 2024-2025 and financial information. Do I have a mover? Councillor Moles, a seconder. Councillor Cohen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor?
No, then, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 4, pursuant to section 405 bracketed 6 of the Local Government Act 1993, place the operational plan 2024-2025 on Council's website within 28 days of adoption. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cohen, a seconder. Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cohen?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Item 5, adopt the long-term financial plan for 2024-2034, appended at Annexure D. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson?
Just to note that there was recently some erroneous interpretation of this particular plan in the media regarding the scenarios that are presented within this plan. Just want to point out that those 3 scenarios, we are required to put those in. It's not necessarily saying that council is going to adopt any particular one of those scenarios, and these plans are reviewed annually as well. So the long-term financial plan covers the next 10 years and is continuously revised as we go along. So although it shows, it's intended to give us outcomes in particular scenarios, it's not saying that we are going to adopt any particular one of those. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Those comments are noted. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6, repeal the long-term financial plan adopted on the 28th of June 2023, 2023-104. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Lawson, seconder. Councillor Cullen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.5, making of rates and fixing of charges, 2024-2025. The recommendation that Council 1, in accordance with Chapter 15, Parts 4 and 5 of the Local Government Act 1993, make and levy the following rates and annual charges for the 2024-2025 financial year. A, in relation to ordinary rates, Council has applied the increase of 4.8% as determined by the Independent Pricing Remuneration Tribunal. B, in relation to ordinary rates and pursuant to section 494, Council makes and levies the ordinary rates of the year 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025. C, in accordance with sections 496 and 501 of the Local Government Act, Council makes and levies an annual charge for the provision of both domestic and commercial waste management services on each rateable and non-rateable property, having access to these services for the year 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025. D, in relation to water supply service charges and pursuant to sections 501, 502 and 552, Council makes and levies the charges on all consumers connected to or capable of being connected to the Liverpool Plain Shire water supply systems and water supply for the year 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025. E, in relation to sewage service charges and pursuant to sections 501, 502 and 552, Council makes and levies the annual charge on all consumers connected to or capable of being connected to the Liverpool Plain Shire sewer systems and sewer charges for the year 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025. 2, pursuant to section 566, bracketed 3 of the Local Government Act 1993, Council adopts the overdue rates and charges maximum interest rate of 10.5% for the period 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025, inclusive, in accordance with the determination made by the Minister for Local Government as published in the Government Gazette number 140-19th of April 2024. Is there a mover for that motion? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Cullen. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Lawson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Maureen, I just wanted to confirm a question in part E regarding the sewer service charge. Whether this is what was liquid trade waste before, just noticed that it's in kilolitres, so I'm assuming that this will be based on the water usage the same as liquid. So basically, I'm just asking, is that what the liquid trade waste charge was? It's just being called sewer charge.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so liquid trade waste is somewhat separate to that. So liquid trade waste is based on the concentration of the various pollutants in the sewer. So this is for non-residential use only, which is a current fee we have. It's not too dissimilar to what we had in the past. So you are correct, it will be based on usage, and I believe most of them will link to liquid trade waste applications, but I don't think that's always the case.
So is this a new charge that, no?
No, it's not.
Oh, I just wasn't familiar with that one, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the motion, for or against? Councillor Cutler?
Just on the water charges, what, in the last 12 or 18 months, what's the water charge gone up considering since the new dam? I thought it was about $2.90 was the last quarter of last year. Is this because of the cost of the nutrient? Or is that just because of the cost of everything? It's, I want to know why it's gone to 328, 393. Thank you.
General Manager?
Yes, Mayor. So council's been on a 4-year pathway to changing the balance of our income with water services. So whilst you are correct, the usage rate has gone up a fair jump. The access charge is actually reduced by not a lot of money, but a handful of dollars each year for like past years. So the objective is that we get closer to a 50-50 income split from fixed access charges and then usage rates. Now, from a consumer perspective, they can control their usage far better. So we're charging more for when you use the water, but the dollars to charge a bit less for just having the water connected to your property in the first instance.
Thank you. So, on another point, is that the same as all the users, like the golf club and all the rest of it? The charges are a fixed set, there's no reduction in fees for anyone that uses it, schools or any other outside users. Council will charge our water at the same rate as this is in for our sporting fields and everything.
So there's one little bit in it, so there's the charge for recreational use. That doesn't have a secondary step for the charge, so that would be councils would use the golf club, rugby club, things like that, so they don't get charged that higher increase in step, they get charged that flat base rate, so that is what council will be charging ourselves for irrigation as part of the water, but also the golf club and other facilities that use it for recreation purposes.
Thank you.
Councillor Wing?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. People like me who don't use the town water because we're on small acreage, the water comes as far as our bottom of our paddock, which is half a kilometre away from the house. Do our rates go up as well as the other ones?
Mr. Mayor, I can't comment on individual bases, but there are rules within the Local Government Act around which properties are charged water rates, and from recollection, if you're within 225 metres of a reticulated water supply, then it is likely that that property would be charged the access charge within their rate status.
By the time we got to our house, it had no pressure, so what's the use of it?
Again, I can't comment on specifics for individual ratepayers, so I'm unsure what to say about council.
Councillor Wing? That's all good.
Yeah, fine, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.6, Statement of Investments for May 2024. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Statement of Investments as of the 31st of May 2024 as appended at Annexure A. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, seconded Councillor Connell. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. It's pleasing to see that again that our investments are doing better than the RBA rate, so that's great. I just had a question in relation to our A2 investments. I noticed that they're in Bendigo Bank, and there's one that's coming up tomorrow. Just wondering, with the when we look at who to invest with again, whether we look at all the different options available, because I did notice that Regional Australia Bank is, I think, an A2 bank now, and obviously they're more connected with our local community, so I just wondered whether that was a considerable option, looking to reinvest that money at that level of rating again. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council invests its money in accordance with the policy. The policy is due for a review, which will take place within the next 6 months. But yes, we very much take note of the limitations contained within the policy. We discussed that in terms of our options. There has been times that the policy has meant that we've had to take a lower rate than what's available from the best option because the mix of investments is quite tight. And we need to manage it very carefully. We take note of what's rolling over in the next week or so. We also look at our cash flow needs over the next 12 months and try to time the investment period to most beneficial way to impact on Council's investment earnings. We do take note and we take the situation quite seriously because it's subject to audit and the internal audit committee will no doubt have some comment to make when the policy is reviewed in the near future.
Nice, thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.7, Local Government Remuneration Tribunal Annual Report and Determination of Councillor Annual Fees for 2024-2025. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal 2024 Annual Determination appended at Annexure A. 2, pursuant to Section 248 of the Local Government Act 1993, fix and determine the annual fee payable to the councillors of Liverpool Plains Shire Council for the 2024-2025 financial year, effective from the 1st of July 2024 at the maximum allowable limit for Rural Council. 3, pursuant to Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1993, fix and determine the annual fee payable to the Mayor of the Liverpool Plains Shire Council for the 2024-2025 financial year, effective from the 1st of July 2024 at the maximum allowable limit for the Rural Council. 4, pursuant to Section 249(5) of the Local Government Act 1993, pay the Deputy Mayor of the Liverpool Plains Shire Council an additional fee of $3,621 deducted from the Mayor's annual fee in recognition of any periods in which the Deputy Mayor is required to act in the office of the Mayor or as agreed by the Mayor. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconder. Councillor Lawson, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No, that's Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.8, Draft Risk Management Strategy. The recommendation that Council 1 place the Draft Risk Management Strategy as appended to Annexure A on public exhibition for a period of 28 days and adopt the draft policy as exhibited, subject to no submissions being received. 2, request a further report at the conclusion of the public exhibition period if submissions are received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconded. Councillor Cohen. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No interest in that.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.9, local advisory groups. Recommendation that council receive and note the minutes of the Prima local advisory group as appended in Annexure A and B. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cohen, a seconder. Councillor Lawson, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cohen?
Mr. Mayor, just briefly in relation to the Prima group minutes there, I know there's been a couple of requests in relation to certain amounts of money for contributions towards their thing. I just wonder whether those were ever met. I noticed they were mentioned in both their lots of minutes and that they were waiting on a reply. I just would like to know if that was ever considered.
General Manager?
I need to take that on notice, if I can, Mr. Mayor, but my recollection is that we did provide some funding, but I can't be explicit in terms of how much it was and whether that married up with their request off the top of my head, but I'm quite sure that we have supported them financially with, particularly with their centenary celebrations.
Councillor Miles?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first want to say I don't want to stifle any input from the public at all, and I don't want to discourage community groups. But I did ask some time back about what constitutes as a local advisory group under our own rules, our own regulations of it. And I just noticed here we've got one member, we've got 4 guests, 3 are from the one family, and we have 4 apologies. So I'm wondering what actually makes up a committee, a local advisory group. Is it a member of 1, or did we have a member of 4 to 6? And I know this particular committee is there because they're having a centenary and they wish some input from council. And I respect what they're doing, but I'm just wondering if they meet what we set up for a local advisory group, especially coming from Werribee Street, and I know the committee was made redundant for various reasons. And somebody was going to go back and look at it for me and come back to us. So I'm just wondering about the committee. I certainly don't want them not working with us, but do they really meet what council's requirements were for a local advisory group? Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, right. From my perspective, Councillor Miles, I think it's a vibrant group. It's only small, it's only a small community, but they're a very vibrant group and they take part in everything they can possibly do for their community. I attended their 100-year centenary celebrations on Sunday, and it was a great turnout. So from my perspective, the group, although small, are vibrant and do everything they can to encourage new members. I think it's imperative that they have a voice, and regardless of the number of people that they have, but they work a lot in conjunction with Spring Ridge. So the numbers swell there, but the 2 small communities are very vibrant, and I think it's incumbent on us to encourage them to get more members, certainly, but in the meantime, they're doing everything they can with the small numbers of people that live there. But I'll hand this other over to the General Manager if you wish to speak on it.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. The local advisory committees or groups, as they are set up, they cease to operate at the end of this current council's term. We're currently in the process of developing a report for the new council to consider reviewing the success and issues that perhaps were had with previous attempts to set the committees up. and that will be a matter for the new council. So, you know, and I think it'll address perhaps some of the issues that you highlighted here. I think probably technically this group may or may not meet the strict criteria, because I think in recent months it's more into an organising committee for their centenary. So it's a little bit different to perhaps, say, the Currabubula committee, which is quite active. They have a far different sort of structure and they have a far broader sort of view of things. This group here morphed into organising their centenary. So, you know, I think we don't want to discourage that, we want to encourage that and use this as a group, as a mechanism to, you know, bring people together and to assist them achieve what they want to achieve.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've answered the question.
Thanks, Councillor Michael. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.10, Infrastructure and Environmental Services Directorate Report for May 2024. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Directorate Report for the month of May 2024. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson?
Yes, sir. I mentioned this in our informal lunch the night, but just I think it's very impressive the work that's been done on Rose Creek Road recently. All of the works that have been done on drainage and sides, it's looking really good, and I think it's happened relatively quickly. So I just wanted to say it's a great job that's been done there. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Your comments are noted. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Miles.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted something fixed up in the maintenance gradings, and I thank Mr. Frost for the response to this. It appears it's doubled up, and that's on the Pandora's Pass Road. Generally, things like that are done once annually, and it's showing here that it's done twice. I'd just like the second one removed because it might reflect to the public that we did a poor job on it the first time. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. That's noted. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cudmore.
Just a question on the country bridges. Was that to the Girton and the other, you know, whatever the two bridges were? Was the budget enough in the end? Because it we had to find some more money originally for that, because we were going to build them ourselves, and then we went to contract. And also the Arnsfield roads, the grading. Have we got enough graders to do all those roads? Because as far as I know, I'll put it this way, how many graders do we have on Arnsfield roads at the moment? To do, I know a lot of them aren't that long, but, or how long is that period of maintenance grading? Is that in the month, or is that over a 6-month period? Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Through Mr. Mayor, so with regards to the bridges, these are the two you were referring to, so Girton Street Bridge and Bridge Road Bridge. We have put in for a variation with Transport for New South Wales for a little bit of extra money for them. So Girton Street Bridge in particular did cost us a bit more at the end because the piling was, so the contract we accepted, the piling was more than what they initially scoped in their design for it. So when they did the final design, there was an additional 2 piles that had to go into that bridge, so that added some of the cost to it. So we expect a positive outcome with that variation, but we aren't sure at this stage. It hasn't been confirmed. Regarding maintenance graders, we have 4 graders within our fleet. 2 to 3 of them would be spending time maintenance grading at any given period of time, maintenance on unskilled roads. So that might be grading, that could be gravel resheeting, but there's 2 or 3 of them at any given time, generally close to 2. And those roads are what was graded in the last month.
Thank you. But also, if the bridges go over, where's that money come from? Because we actually plucked it out of somewhere before. So how do we go ahead?
At this point in time, we're expecting a positive outcome from the variation application. So We'll wait until we hear back from that and then we'll consider after that. We expect a positive outcome. So we've got approval for Bridge Road and we expect to get approval for Bridge Street as well. Thank you.
Councillor Cavanagh?
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.11, draft asset management policy. The recommendation that council place the draft asset management policy as appended to Annexure A on public exhibition for a period of 28 days and adopt the draft policy as exhibited, subject to no submissions being received. 2, request a further report at the conclusion of the public exhibition period if submissions are received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cohen, second Councillor Lawson. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cohen?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lawson?
Just under item 4D, where it talks about regular inspections will be used as part of the asset management process to ensure agreed service levels are maintained and to identify asset renewal priorities. Just wonder whether there should be some mention in there about maintenance, because things don't always need to be replaced. I know it's there broadly under the principles, but just maybe a bit more of a specific mention that it can be a bit of a stitch in time, so it's not, I think, with some things. I just noticed that some of the assets are around the Shire and that just needs some fairly basic maintenance just to bring them back up to standard. Thank you.
General Manager? That's noted, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.12, Town Water Supply Status. Recommendation that Council receive and note the Town Water Supply Status report. Do I have a mover?
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Cullen, a seconder. Councillor Cullen, do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cullen?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cullen?
Just what's, how's the new waterworks going? Is it easy to run? Is it doing a good job? Or you still get those odd complaints, but we're not quite sure where they're from. Thank you.
Gentlemen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's performing as we would expect so far. The proof of performance test number 1 has been completed and we're currently going through the reviewing of all the results from that proof of performance test. It is consistently complying or meeting the Australian Drinking Water Guidelines. Is it easier to operate? There's a lot more, when I say levers to pull, metaphorically, there's a lot more process trains we have to manage, so it's not easier, but it does mean that we can get a better quality and more consistent quality of water with those extra process trains. So I'm suggest it's going quite well at the moment. We're getting good quality water from it, and with the flushing we've undertaken in West Creek, we would expect that the water quality for West Creek residents should have improved pretty dramatically from what they were getting previously.
Also, sorry, Mr. Mayor, just, the chances of getting to the northern end of Corinda, is that ever discussed, or is it Werris Creek alone, or are we going to pump water to the tip tank? It hasn't been touted, but it was talked about maybe.
Through Mr. Mayor, so the pipework is there to send it up to the northern reservoir in Corinda. At the moment, we are not sending it to Corinda. There are some network risks that we need to understand and possibly test as well in regards to how the water blends, because we can't, it's not intended to supply the entirety of Corinda with the potable water, so how that works through the network is a bit of an unknown. It's a bit difficult to ascertain. So at the moment, we're not sending it to Corinda. We do have the capacity to do so, but we need to look at the risk of the blending of the water within the network to make sure it doesn't create any undesirable artifacts within the network.
Thank you.
You're up.
Thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.13, Werris Creek wastewater aqueduct options. The recommendation that Council 1, in accordance with section 178 of the Local Government Act, bracketed General, Regulation 2021, cancel the proposal for contract RFT 064/2023, and 2, add the replacement of the aqueduct to the scope of work for the project to renew the inlet works at the Werris Creek wastewater treatment plant currently proposed to be undertaken in the 2026 financial year. Do I have a mover?
I'd like to move part 1 of the recommendation, Mr Mayor, and I'd like to speak on the second part, please.
So that's moved by Councillor Miles, the first part. So do you want to do that separate to the second part?
Yeah, well, second.
You're second. So the first part is moved by Councillor Miles and seconded by Councillor Cudmore. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Can I just speak to the first?
Councillor Wilson.
I just wanted to, because I'm getting quite a sense of deja vu with this, I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same as the motion we had up before. The reason behind cancelling the proposal for the contract was basically money, from what I can recall, is that the quote that we had for that tender was more than what we had to spend. I just wanted to confirm that that was the only restriction basically that was happening, and I thought that we were going to, I thought at the time that we asked if we could look at getting some more funding to go towards that, because we were concerned about delaying the project, and I know that is going into the second part, it's part related. So yeah, just wanting to know, was that explored, or yeah, is it just not something we're able to do at the moment? Thanks.
General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, so with regards to the council contract, part of it is our obligations under the local government regulation tender. So if we decline a tender, we must do one of a number of things. So with the proposal being that we hold off on the work until later, you would cancel the contract. If the proposal is that we want to look at funding and then change it, then we have to not cancel the contract, we re-tender with different ones. So what I recall from the meeting wasn't so much looking for extra funds, like is this urgent, can we delay it, and can be done. And the previous report didn't really go into the detail to allow council to make an informed decision on that part, so we provided that detail. We did re-look at it, and it's a case that it's not in an imminent, it's not at risk of an imminent catastrophic failure. There may be issues there, but they are repairable within our skill set, so it's something that we could repair a failure if it did occur on a small section, because it's exceptionally unlikely that the entire length of that aqueduct's going to fail. By incorporating it into the broader project with the Werris Creek inlet works, it gives us some alternative options that aren't available to us now. So it is plausible that the new inlet works will need a pump to lift effluent through a grate as it stands at the moment. So if you're going to pump it, instead of having an above ground aqueduct, we could have a buried pipeline, and then I guess the inlet works will get pumped up. Anyway, so if we incorporate it with that project, it opens up a couple of different options on how we can solve this as well, and a buried pipeline is a lot cheaper to build, cheaper to maintain, and it's lower risk into the future as well. So that's the reason why you are correct. The recommendation is essentially the same as what was brought the last time around, and council moved an amendment to that. But with the extra detail that we provided, we do believe is the best way forward.
Thank you.
Is Councillor Lawson? Is there anyone else wishing to speak on item 1 of that resolution? We are voting on item 1 of the 6.13 Werris Creek wastewater aqueduct options. If there's no further speakers, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 2, of 6.13, the Werris Creek waste, sorry. Did you have a question, Councillor Moxley?
No, Mr Mayor, I just voted with the rest of them. I'm fine, I'm ready to go on to part two.
Have you got an alternative motion for that, have you?
No, Mr Mayor, I would just like to speak on part two.
Okay, well, that's all right, I'll put the motion and then you can. Hey. Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So, item 2, do I have a mover? Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Lawson. Councillor Miles, did you wish to speak to the item?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, the reason I didn't move the 2 parts is because I have concerns with the second part and I need some clarification on it. Mr Skelly has partially answered my concerns. I did ask whether we would be able to put this aqueduct scope of works with the project for the inlet works at the Werris Creek wastewater treatment plant. And the reason I asked that was this has been on the books for a long time, and I do not want to threaten the inlet works project by adding this to it. I'm not sure how the EPA and everybody is going to go along with the project, and I don't want to jeopardise one part of the project because we've added the aqueduct to it. I've read the documents and I understand the options we have, and it's why I didn't go 1-2, because I need to know that if we add this, or if we can add this to the inlet works. At the moment, we're at 6s and 7s. And if we come back and they say, no, you can't do that, all right, but it's a bit silly us moving it. And I don't want to threaten that last part, because that is a section we need to address, and we need to address it yesterday. And as Mr Skelly's indicated, it does open some other options up for us. And if I'm still on council in the next couple, well, I will be the next couple of months, and any reports come back, I'm interested to see what's being proposed. So I'm happy to move that, Mr Mayor. Asking the question of Mr Skelly through the General Manager and yourself, whether he believes the EPA will allow that scope of works to be put onto the inlet works of the wastewater treatment. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
General Manager?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Apologies, I can't recall off the top of my head the Werris Creek works, whether it is fully funded by council or partially grant funded. I can't recall off the top of my head, so it's difficult for me to say whether that would impact it or not. I would expect it would not impact it, and if it is funded if it is grant funded, it's likely that there will be a contribution from the council anyway. So if it was a case that the EPA or any grant funding body wouldn't fund the aqueduct work, then council would have to fund it within its own budget. But as I say, because the work we're doing with the inlet gives us some further options, it's likely to become a cheaper project to deliver at that point in time when, if you could bury the pipe, if that's the way the project lands, and that at the moment that is likely where it's going to go to, but it's still early days because we've only been looking at conceptual ideas for the inlet works at this stage. We've not got a final design for it. So unfortunately, I'm not sure I can offer you the guarantee you're looking for, the information you're looking for, because I don't have it at hand. It's very difficult for me to tell you that.
Councillor Miles?
Just write a reply for one. No other council wishes to speak for or against.
I was going to say something. If that's right. Just,
No. Councillor Lawson?
I just do note that Nathan indicated before that we weren't expecting a catastrophic failure with the aqueduct as it stands at the moment before we can get to it with this 2026 project. I think last time we were having this discussion, that was the major concern, was that there would be a catastrophic failure. So if that's not actually the case, and we feel that we can manage any failures that may or may not occur within our budget, without excessive expense, then I'd be quite happy to support the motion as it stands. Thank you.
Councillor Miles?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In respect to Mr Skelly, thank you for your response. My understanding is that the EPA has for some time been asking us to do something with waste treatment plant because of what's being put out on the other side, and it doesn't meet it. And it comes in with the Greenlight sewage stuff as well, so they were two projects that we were looking at some years back. My concern is, over the last 6-12 months, we've had a few projects now that we've gone through the conceptual designs, we've done all the budgeting for it, we've done the contracting, and we've found that we don't have anywhere near the money that we need for the project. We've just found we don't have the money to replace that line. So my concern is by the time we go through it all again with the inlet and doing these works, it's going to blow out again. I would suggest that costing's gone up about 30% in the last 12 months, whether it's labour, materials. But by the time you get through all your contracts, I'm wondering who would bother with a contract with the time it takes on the amount of money we say we've got. And then at the end of the day, we don't have it. And you've just seen it with another project that's coming up later on in our papers. How from the time we started discussing it to the time we want to do it, it's outweighed its actual usefulness. So that's just where my concerns are for the new council. But I appreciate what you're saying, and there's no guarantees in council at all. So thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. If there is no other questions on the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7, Delegates Report, Destination and Visitor Economy Conference 2024. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Delegates Report for the Council attendance at the Destination and Visitor Economy Conference 2024 as appended at Annexure A. Did you wish to move that, Councillor?
Yes.
It's your report.
Yes.
It's moved by Councillor Allen. Is there a seconder? Councillor Miles. Did you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Allen? Good job, Councillor.
No, you didn't. I think I will reserve my right to speak because I think it's in relation to the conference and how it went and how the Liverpool Plains Council and other councils do things is purely on the basis of population size and economy size, so no, that's about all I'll say. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Allen. That was Councillor Miles.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillor Allen. Councillor Allen. Well done. What a great report. Very informative. I don't think you left anything out. You must have been writing from the time you got on a train or a bus or a plane to the time you got off it. It's very informative. It's probably one of the better reports I've seen on this particular topic. So, well done, Councillor Allen.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against that report? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.2, Delegates Report, Visit to Susongu, Republic of Korea. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Delegates Report as appended at Annexure A for the visit undertaken to Susongu, Republic of Korea in April 2024. As the writer of that, I will move that motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wynne. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Councillor Miles.
Mr Mayor, I hate to do it. That's another great report. Well done. Probably out of disappointment was I thought you'd do one of the pages in Korean for us.
I could have done. Sorry to disappoint you, Councillor Miles. If I'd have known, I would have. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 9, confidential matters. The recommendation that council considers the confidential reports, bracketed S, listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 10A bracketed 2 of the Local Government Act 1993, 9.1 Werra Street Industrial Precinct construction tender and project status. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A bracketed 2 bracketed C of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that the discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. 9.2 Bad debt write-off rates, charges and sundry debtors. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A bracketed 2 bracketed B of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with discussions in relation to the personal hardship of a resident or ratepayer. Do I have a mover to move into confidential? Councillor Allen, seconded Councillor Witt. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. So we want to do it. The report on the confidential matters, 9.1, Werris Creek Industrial Precinct Construction Tender and Project Status. The resolution was, 1, reject all tenders for contract 041/2022, Werris Creek Industrial Precinct and cancel contract. 2, explore opportunities for the future of the precinct with the New South Wales Government and relevant stakeholders. This was resolved 7-4, nil against. The second item, 9.2, recommendation that council authorise the write-off of bad debts of $15,924.91, being $10,021.07 from rates and water charges, including interest and legal costs, and $5,591, including GST, from general user charges at NHA. This was resolved 5-4 and 2 against. Now, do you want to close the meeting first? Being no further business, 4:35, the meeting closed at 4:35. I believe members of the gallery have some questions before we go.